A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, there was a set of mods that were completely broken and changed the way we played Destiny. Okay, it was in our galaxy, and more like 9 months ago, but that's beside the point. I'm talking about Warmind Cells. You know, the little glowy ball nobody can resist shooting. These mods were introduced in Season of the Worthy and were so powerful they could clear a whole lost sector with just one cell. For obvious reasons, they took a big hit when Bungie finally decided to take a closer look and nerfed them. They didn't want us wiping out the whole Dreaming City with one little nuke, which I find odd because we can now do it with the Void subclass. But I'm getting off topic. There are 3 mods in particular that were out of control: Wrath of Rasputin, Rage of Warmind, and Global Reach. We called it the trifecta because these 3 mods would wipe out everything and create another Warmind cell in the process. It was a bit much and made all of us feel godly. Even dungeons and raids became a joke after these things were introduced. And the funny thing about Warmind cells, Bungie never intended for them to stay in the game. They were supposed to leave when the season ended, but changed their mind at the last minute. Not sure why, but they did. Fast forward to present day. We're now living in a Destiny universe where some of the Warmind cells have been nerfed into the ground, and we rarely see them out in the wild anymore. It's unfortunate. I'm assuming it's because we got so accustomed to the amount of damage they could do, and when they got nerfed it felt off. Or maybe it's because that was right around the time when Bungie started pushing elemental well mods on us. But regardless, somewhere along the lines after the nerf, somebody decided all Warmind cells are now trash and nobody uses them. Because of this, I've been asking myself the same question for months. Where do Warmind cells fit into the game? And I think I finally have the answer. No, not the dumpster out back. Bungie has confirmed we will see an Arc and Solar rework soon, and there's a big speculation that we're going to see Solar next. That's where I think Warmind cells are going to shine. They will never get back to their former glory, but they still have a lot to offer besides nuking a whole map. And that's because the neutral game on these mods is fantastic, especially when paired with the Solar subclass and other mods. For instance, most of us are using the Void subclass because it's fun, creates a ton of elemental wells, synergizes with Well of Tenacity, and is way overtuned for the current state of Destiny. When the Solar rework makes its way into the game, it's probably going to be overtuned just like Void. We're going to see lots of explosions, healing, and a ton of explosive Wellmaker Well of Life builds out there. But where does Well of Tenacity fit into a Solar world, besides using Reaping Wellmaker? It doesn't, but we have a Warmind cell called Warmind's Protection that does. The argument can be made that Well of Tenacity is more reliable to spawn with Reaping Wellmaker, requires less effort, and Warmind's Protection can't give us a 50% damage reduction like Well of Tenacity. But what it can do is last longer than Well of Tenacity, cause enemies near it to output 50% less damage to us, damage multiple enemies at once, along with synergizing with other Warmind mods. Mods like Fireteam Medic, which gives our whole team 150 HP burst of healing when destroyed. These, paired with Well of Life, can make for some interesting tanky builds, and that's just the beginning. We have Wrath of Rasputin, which grants us 50% of our melee energy back when collecting a Warmind cell. This, paired with Warmind's Light to become charged with light, and heavy-handed, creates a nasty melee build. Think about Melting Point and Peregrine Greaves in Solar 3.0. We also have some of my favorites like Cellular Suppression, Chosen of the Warmind, or Grasp of the Warmind. To suppress enemies, bounce them around like ragdolls, or just be a jerk and stick a Warmind cell to their head while having Warmind's Protection on. Long story short, we have a lot of options with Warmind cells, ranging from the mods we use to the 7th Seraph or Icalos weapons that don't just revolve around the cells that were overpowered a long time ago. And we have even more options when we factor in the AoE weapons like the Wither Horde or rocket launchers that can create Warmind cells by just swapping weapons. The main focus of this video was to discuss Warmind cells and remind players that they still exist. But I did put together a simple and quick starter Titan build that has no frills or crazy ability spam, just fiery survivability and some fun, but it can be used for any class of Guardian by swapping out the exotic and skill tree. Who knows how this build will turn out once we see the Solar rework, especially if we get those Warlock Solar Grenades. Those things are dangerous and create a lot of Warmind cells. For the subclass, we'll be using the bottom tree because nothing can compete with the ability regeneration, weapon damage buff, and healing this tree provides from Sun Warrior. But more importantly, it has to do with the 2 exotics we're going to pair with this build: the Loreley Splendor and the Dead Messenger. The Loreley Splendor is one of the 2 new Titan exotics that causes our sunspots from Sun Warrior to heal us, and it creates a sunspot when going critical. It also creates a sunspot when popping our barricade, which is what we're more interested in for the 20% damage buff and ability regen while Sun Warrior is active. And the Dead Messenger is the new exotic waveframe grenade launcher that can be acquired from the Vox Obscura mission after completing a questline. I chose this one because it can change elements similar to the Hard Light, for those instances when we need different matching elements. It also benefits from Sun Warrior by creating more sunspots when Sun Warrior is active, and creates solar explosions to proc the first two mods on our list. These mods are Explosive Wellmaker and Wrath of Rasputin. These two are the foundation of the build. Explosive Wellmaker creates elemental wells whenever we kill 2 or more enemies with an explosion. This can be from stasis crystals, grenades, firefly explosions, and anything else that goes boom, but for today's purpose, it's all about solar explosions because we want it to synergize with Wrath of Rasputin. Wrath of Rasputin has a chance to create Warmind Cells from any solar explosion, like our super, the explosion from our melee, or the Dead Messenger. Unfortunately, we can't create Warmind Cells from sunspots, but we can create sunspots from Warmind Cells if we have Sun Warrior active, and that's partially why I chose the Loreley Splendor, because we will be in sunspots quite a bit. The next 2 mods we want to focus on are Well of Life and Warmind's Protection for survivability. Well of Life grants us 13 HP of healing per second for 11 seconds when we pick up that solar well from Explosive Wellmaker, and the timer refreshes anytime we pick up a new well. It's nowhere near as much healing as the Warlock Rift, but it comes in handy for pesky situations, like when an Acolyte throws a firebomb at us. And Warmind's Protection causes enemies within 6 meters of our Warmind cell to output 50% less damage to us. 6 meters isn't very much, but we can extend the range if we add the mod Global Reach, which just so happens to be the final mod on the list. This mod affects the Warmind cell detonation range and any mod that states, while near a Warmind cell, by 10 meters, so that range goes from 6 to 16 meters, and it makes a world of difference, especially in confined areas or somewhere where there's lots of ads, like PsyOps missions. The build doesn't require much effort. By just throwing grenades, dropping our barricade, using our super, and the Dead Messenger, we'll be creating sunspots everywhere, and the sunspots will give us a 20% damage buff to all weapons. During all this, we'll be creating solar elemental wells from Explosive Wellmaker to consistently feed us healing from Well of Life, and creating Warmind Cells from Wrath of Rasputin to feed Warmind's Protection. I know we're getting a lot of healing from Loreley Splendor and Well of Life. If you don't need the extra damage reduction from Warmind's Protection, I would say try out the old trifecta we were talking about, or try out any other Warmind mods that are available. I promise they're a lot of fun, especially when we get creative. Some great minor mods to pair with this build are Ashes to Assets on the helmet for bonus super energy on grenade kills, and Bomber on the class item to reduce grenade cooldown when using your class ability. This one pairs nicely with the Loreley Splendor since we're going to be dropping our barricade a lot. When it comes to kinetic and heavy weapons, you can use whatever you prefer, but keep in mind, heavy machine guns are supposedly getting a buff, and one of my favorite LMGs is the 7th Seraph Saw, which can create Warmind Cells and hits like a truck. And while we're on the subject of weapons that create Warmind Cells, a few minor details I feel should be mentioned is that Warmind Cells have a guaranteed drop rate when using 7th Seraph or Ikelos weapons, and some of these weapons are farmable from the Prophecy dungeon. The Warmind Cells work on an additive counter. Each combatant killed will progress this counter, and once the counter reaches 100%, the next combatant kill will drop a Warmind Cell. Low tier enemies like Scions and Dregs count as 25%. Mid tier enemies like Vandals count as 34%. And high tier enemies like Servitors or Hydras count as 50%. If it's a boss or a mini boss, they have a guaranteed drop rate. Like I mentioned earlier, this video is geared more towards talking about Warmind Cells, and it's a no-frills build that can be customized to fit your liking, but it is fun. After talking to a lot of you in the comments section and through DMs, I realized there's a lot of newer players here who have some of these mods but haven't done anything with them because nobody talks about Warmind Cells anymore. I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comment section if you're using Warmind Cells. If you do, tell me your favorite build. As always, be true to yourself, be good to one another, and have a fantastic day. Thank you!
And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. I don't fucking take smoke, I'ma poke a hole through you, choking's overdue. Come at me and you won't get any older, dude, crack your holder too. Heating up inside of me, blood so violently, thanks for trying me. Now it's finally time to see how this rivalry becomes a dynasty.